Jay here, Stretford Paddock. This is the Paper Talk. As you can see, I'm live. I'm in my kitchen. Get involved in the chat and the comments. Going to be talking about all the latest Kobbie Mainoo news because it's all about Kobbie Mainoo this morning. You'll have seen the news all over social media. You'll have seen the article from Laurie Whitwell, or at least the tweet, I think, from Laurie Whitwell and Mark Critchley and Stretford Paddock, who've retweeted it and reposted it and sort of highlighted it, if you will. So we're going to get into all that because, yeah, that is the main story this morning. It's pretty devastating for me. I'm not going to lie. I love Kobbie Mainoo, and I do trust Mark Critchley. We have him on the channel all the time, and I do trust Laurie Whitwell. So I do think there's something in this story. I'm not just going to dismiss it, as some people are doing and saying, oh, it's nonsense, journalists making up things for mischief making. I think there's something in this. So I'm going to get into it, and I want you guys to get into it with me. Let me know what you think. Hit that like button, hit that share button, subscribe to the channel and all that jazz. But let's get into the article. Let's get down to the crux of this morning's news before we go anywhere, because, yeah, I'm just coming to terms with this. So Laurie Whitwell posted an article this morning, and it says Kobbie Mainoo on his tweet is open to leaving United before the deadline. Obviously, the deadline, I think it's the 1st of September. Deep frustration at situation, preference for European team. Club have considered sale all summer, albeit not actively looking to move. Details on delicate issues. So it's Laurie, it's Mark Critchley, and it's Adam Crafton, all for The Athletic, of course, doing it together. Listen, we've had all of those journalists on the channel. Laurie's got a regular show on the channel, Inside United. He's on every fortnight with that. Mark Critchley is more or less on every week, or not every week, every month anyway. We have him on the Brew. We've had him on the Paddock podcast. He's a journalist that I trust, and I trust Laurie, obviously. Otherwise, we won't keep having him on the channel. So when they say things like that, I trust they've done the homework. Also, Adam Crafton, I think, is another journalist who's been involved in this article. Again, he's someone we've had on the channel. The reason I'm saying all this is because I think there's something in this. Often when I come here and I do the paper talk, we'll cover stories and I'll say, I don't think there's anything in this. I don't believe this is true. I think this is a bit of nonsense. The journalist that's written it, I don't believe them, or they haven't got a pedigree. They haven't got any experience where you go, oh, they're always breaking stories. I know Laurie very well. He's a good mate of mine. He does his homework. I do not believe for 1 second he published something as important as this without checking it and double checking it. So I think there's something in it. I really do. And I've seen people on social media going, oh, it's nonsense. It's people talking rubbish. I'd love to think this is nonsense because I love Kobbie Mainoo. I'm not going to pretend. Kobbie Mainoo is one of my favourite Manchester United players. I think the kid is special and I want to see him spend the rest of his career at Manchester United. And I firmly believe that isn't going to happen because of the story I'm reading this morning from a journalist that I respect and know very well. So anyway, enough about that. Let's get into it. So I'm not going to read the entire article, but basically it talks about Kobbie Mainoo on the pitch at Craven Cottage, looking a bit downbeat, obviously hadn't got any minutes. Second match in succession where he'd had 0 minutes. Second match in succession where Manchester United, towards the end of the game, were chasing the game, were trying to get a foothold in the game, and didn't really, when I say we're chasing the game, I know it was 1-1, but we were trying to get a win. You'd think we were trying to get a win at the end of that game. He didn't get any minutes, which is second successive match that's happened in, and the article says how downbeat he looks. So it said here, you don't need to be a body language expert to see that, according to those familiar with the situation, speaking on condition of anonymity to protect relationships, he has been left deeply frustrated by not featuring in either of United's matches this season so far. Still, this is nothing particularly new. Questions over Mainoo's playing time and his role with the Ruben Amorim system have abounded for months. As a result, the 20-year-old United Academy graduate is open to leaving his boyhood club before the transfer window closes on Monday. Having discussed as much with teammates, United, meanwhile, have been considering the prospect of selling him all summer, sources say. So it's not completely new, the idea of selling Kobbie Mainoo. This isn't something that's just popped up today. It's just obviously taking a step forward with Mainoo being open to the idea and Manchester United seemingly willing to sell him. He says it as well, although he's not part of the 4-man bomb squad alongside Garnacho, Anthony, Sancho and Malacia, who have trained separately following their returns to United's Carrington base to begin pre-season. Mainoo, like striker Rasmus Højlund, has been identified internally as a potential departure since the start of the window in June, and the club have been willing to sell him at the right price since as far back as January. Goes on to say, United sources insist they are not actively pushing Mainoo out the door, however, and staff are happy with him albeit, like all players, he has areas to improve. People at Old Trafford expect him to remain a United player beyond next week's deadline, with the caveat that anything can happen in the final days of a transfer window. So it's not like he's gone. It's not like he's done, but it's not great, is it? It goes on to say how he prefers a move to the continent rather than staying in the Premier League, and he had explored options in Germany when coming through United's academy. Also says here that when Chelsea asked about him, they were quoted 70 million. There is a belief United would now accept around 45 million, potentially even less, as the deadline draws near. Now, let's get one thing straight, right? I don't want to see Kobby Mainoo go anywhere. I want us to keep him. I want us to nurture him. I want him to become a Manchester United legend. However, if he does leave, we need to be getting more than 45 million for him. Seriously, that would be crackers. I know he's got 2 years left on his deal. I get that, but he's still a very, very talented lad. And I think you look at the prices of players nowadays. Look at what Elanga went for. Look at what Madueke went for. I know they're different types of players, but you get the point. Less than 45 million for a player like Kobbie Mainoo would be unreal. For me, I don't get it, to be honest with you. I'd be mortified if we let him go, and I'd be even more mortified if we let him go for less than what you got Gylfi Sigurdsson 10 years ago. Adam Samakia says, Kobbie won't go anywhere. Believe in the process. Nothing of that sort will happen. He still has 3 years and will prosper in United with Ruben. Article says he wants 10 times his wages. That's mad. We're going to get into that about Ruben Amorim's wages. Sorry. See what my dog's creating havoc out there. My dog's upset about Kobbie Mainoo leaving. So he's on 20k a week, I think, because that's what the deal he signed a couple of years ago when he was a teenager. He'd barely played any minutes. I think he'd had about 11 minutes when he signed that deal. Then there was talk of him wanting a new deal. He's become a United regular, or he had become a United regular. At the time when there was reports he wanted around 180k a week, I think it was. He was in the team playing every week, and he had the likes of Casemiro's on 350k a week, Mason Mount, who's on 200k a week, who weren't getting games, who weren't playing for various reasons. So I think the feeling was, well, he should be on at least, or his camp felt he should be on at least half of that wage. Now, 180 grand for a player who now isn't even in the team and he's only 20 is excessive. I said it at the time. I said, even though he was playing, and I get the fact that his agent is going to try and push for the most money he can get, 180k felt a little bit much. I think you can have something like, it felt closer to 150k with bonuses. If you're on like a 100k, if you're playing every week and you go up to 150k, if you play and we win, I get that. I know he's only 20, but he is in England international, he was at the time, and very tight player. And if he's playing, then I understand this is his second contract and he's a United regular, then you'd expect a big pay jump. And I expect, parity with some of your teammates. Maybe not, you wouldn't expect to be on the same money as someone like a Casemiro or Bruno Fernandes or whoever, but you might expect to be on the same money as some of the younger players and some of the signings. So I don't think that's, beyond the realms of possibility. I think 180k isn't going to happen, and it's certainly not going to happen if he's not even fancied in the manager's plans. I don't necessarily think this is about the money for his contract. I think the big issue here is Ruben Amorim doesn't really have a place for him in the team. He just doesn't, does he? Let's be honest here. Ruben Amorim, Adam McCullough asked him about Kobbie Mainoo, and he did say he's a talent. He did say there's only going to be one game a week next season, but he did sort of allude to the fact that he's got a plan for Kobbie Mainoo. But when you look at his team, I think Ruben Amorim himself said the other day that Kobbie Mainoo would come in, or is another option or alternative to Bruno Fernandes. Bruno Fernandes, I think, played 55 games last season. Bruno Fernandes is never injured. He very, very, very rarely gets subbed. So if your only option into getting into the United team is if Bruno Fernandes isn't about, then basically you're on a bit of a hiding to nothing. Let me know what you think. Get involved. Adel Samakia says, I rate Kobbie at 80k plus performances-based increases, which can get up to 125k. My personal opinion, that seems all reasonable. Alan Smith says, this will haunt Amorim. He'll be gone by Jan. Listen, I don't know if what will happen with Ruben Amorim. I expect him to succeed at Manchester United. I've been saying that for a little while. But, and it's a big but, if Kobbie Mainoo leaves and he doesn't, I don't think you'll go, well, selling Kobbie Mainoo was the reason that Ruben Amorim didn't succeed at Manchester United. But it might be one of the things that you look at and go, that turned out to be a mistake. That didn't help him as a United manager. That led to sort of, one of the reasons that he left. I remember saying this about Anthony and Erik ten Hag. I don't think the signing of Anthony cost Erik ten Hag his job. because, he kept his job for 2 years or whatever it was after he signed on it. But it was one of the sticks that we used to beat him with. And I think if you sell Kobbie Mainoo and he does well, then that is going to be a stick that is used to beat him with. Akash K says, I will be going on a 45-day hunger strike and handcuff myself to the Old Trafford goalpost if Mainoo is sold, especially for 45 million. Hashtag Glazers out. Look, let me know your opinion. What do you think? Do you think we should be selling Kobbie Mainoo? Do you think that Kobbie Mainoo should be kept at Manchester United? Do you think we should find a place in this team for Kobbie Mainoo? I do. I think you should be keeping him. I love Kobbie Mainoo. I think you look at his career so far, it's been a massive trajectory very quickly. Don't forget, he was 18 when I think he made his full debut for Manchester United in the Premier League. Man of the match in that game as well at Goodison Park. By the end of the season, he's player of the match. Sorry, he's not man of the match. He's player of the match in the FA Cup final and scores the decisive goal. Then he ends up going all the way to the Euros final after forcing his way into the England team. And then since Ruben Amorim's come in, it's not been easy for Kobbie Mainoo. I'm not going to pretend it isn't, but there has been some good moments. Let's not forget, at the Etihad last season, probably our best result under Ruben Amorim was beating Manchester City away. Kobbie Mainoo came on for Mason Mount after, 10 minutes and did very well. Look at the Lyon game. That kept our season going. Kobbie Mainoo comes on, gets the equaliser. At the end of that game, everyone's raving about how good Kobbie Mainoo is and how lucky we are to have him. And yet when we get to the Europa League final, he gets 10 seconds of normal time. Bizarre. Very bizarre. I was there in Bilbao and I saw the board going up to bring him on. Looks at the clock, 89 minutes, 50 seconds. What's all that about? So I don't get the way Kobbie Mainoo's been handled by Ruben Amorim. I don't. The fact he's playing him at a false 9 against Crystal Palace made zero sense to me. It's obvious he's struggling to find a place for Kobbie Mainoo in the team. What I would look at is the age of Kobbie Mainoo, the ability he's got, the talent he's got, and also let's not get clouded by the fact that his agents made a demand for a higher wage or whatever. From what we gather, Kobbie Mainoo applies himself in training. He isn't someone who's spat his dummy out and, he's done a bit of a Marcus Rashford where the manager's had to question his mindset or anything like that. The article in the Athletic says that everyone's sort of pleased with him at Carrington. So he does seem like a lad that you could have a bright future, or would have a bright future at Manchester United. And I think we should be nurturing him. Let me know what you think. Akash K, sorry, I've read that one. Jabak Sahu says, in our bid to remove player power, we've let Erik ten Hag ruin half the foundations of United, and the other half is being finished off now. We don't win football matches anymore, and we're selling off our future. Let me know what you think. I want to hear your problems. I just read the word problem. Your thoughts. Problem Mainoo has is his stamina. We get to the 65th minute, and he looks absolutely spent, says you, honey. That's not going to improve unless you play football matches. And I don't always think that's true, to be fair. I think there's some games where Kobbie Mainoo's played a lot longer than 60 minutes. But if he does have stamina issues, the way to fix that is to place the end. And also, name me a player other than Bruno Fernandes who doesn't get subbed after the 60th minute. Mason Mount usually gets subbed after the 60th minute. Manuel Guy doesn't even start usually, but when he does, he usually gets subbed. He's one of the players that Ruben Amorim always substitutes when he starts. Casemiro gets subbed. I know he's a lot older than Kobbie Mainoo. It does seem to be a running theme, doesn't it? Because of the amount of substitutes you've got, invariably at United under Ruben Amorim, we're chasing the game as well. It does seem to be after 60 minutes, a lot of players get subbed. I want to know what you guys think. Let me know. Get involved in the chat and the comments. Jordan says, just gutted about Kobbie leaving. Nothing more to say. Jordy Pilling says, if the Kobbie rumours are true, I'm gutted. Ant L says, if Mainoo does want 200k a week, we found the issue. He's another Garnacho, a.k.a. an idiot. I mean, I think that's harsh. I won't say Kobbie Mainoo's an idiot. Andrew says, does the manager not have a duty to improve all players and not just want players who will do what the manager says? I think you can have a little bit of a mix in that. Brian Casey says, if it's 100 million for Bruno or 45 million for Mainoo, then we need a new captain. Kobbie is the future. And if we can get Baleba in, they'll dominate our midfield for a decade. United says, Jay, you think Mainoo is thus elite player? Doesn't even make sense. He's bang average with no engine. Of course he is. That's why he was player of the match in the game at the FA Cup final against the Manchester City midfield of Rodri, who just went on to win the Ballon d'Or, and Kevin De Bruyne, because he's bang average. That's why he forced his way in the England team, went all the way to the Euros final, because he's bang average. What a stupid comment. Andy G says, don't think ten Hag ruined Kobbie. Probably the worst take I have heard. I don't think anyone's who said that. I didn't say that. I don't know who did. I'm guessing. It's someone in the comments. Akash K says, Jay, Amorim's system is the issue here. I get it. Doesn't feel like there's a place for Kobbie in this system. I thought he maybe could play as one of the number 10s. I said that last season. However, when you've got Mbumo and you've got Cunha, is he going to get a game as a number 10? Not unless one of those two is injured. Mohamed O says, I'm sorry, but I'm choosing Kobbie over a manager who hasn't won back-to-back wins. Albo Martinez Resurrection says, take 160 and forget, brother. Alex says, Kobbie will replace Bruno at some point. Have faith. David PR says, Jay wearing black today is very apt. Yeah, I mean, I am gutted about this. I love Kobbie Mainoo, and I trust this article. I think there's something in it. So, yeah, I'm not going to lie to you. Foundation Manchester says, start again. Foundation Manchester says, Jay, he might not start tonight now after this news has come out, which would be another nail in the coffin, so to speak. We have to keep him and build the future around him, or build the team around him. Sorry, he's the future. A lot of love for Kobbie. Some people questioning him. Timmy says, we'll sell Kobbie for peanuts and then we'll re-sign him in a few years for 150 million. Kite Boy says, loan him until we get a new manager. Could a loan move be an option? Would someone be on that one? I mean, if he's not getting minutes, and it is a World Cup year, he might want to play for England in the World Cup because he played in the Euros, didn't he? Then maybe a loan move would suit anyone. I'm not saying loan him until we get a new manager, but loan him. And if he goes and proves himself, and who knows what the future holds for this Manchester United team, even with the same manager, the manager might look at him and go, okay, you know what, he's done the business there, or maybe one or two of the players that I've got haven't done quite what I want them to, or maybe Kobbie Mainoo has developed into a player that I can use in a different role in this system. Let me know what you think. Fano says, loan him to Leeds, show him I need to show him how bleak life can be. Juice Vibes JV says, as long as Fabrizio and Ornstein haven't said anything, I'm not believing it. The trouble with this is, right, is Laurie works with Ornstein. They work together. They do articles together a lot of the time. So even though this article isn't from David Ornstein, I guarantee that if Laurie's saying it, it's as good as Ornstein's saying it. Laurie covers Manchester United. He has very, very good sources at Manchester United. He wouldn't post something like this if he didn't believe it 100%, because he knows how seminal and inflammatory it could be. It's not something you just take a punt on. You have to know that this is true if you are going to run an article like this. And Laurie does his own work. And I know I sound like I'm proper, bigging up Laurie Whitwell, but he's a friend and he's someone we have on the channel. That's why I'm gutted. I love Kobbie Mainoo. I don't want him to go. When I saw this article, for me, it looks like he's going to go. And I'm gutted about that because I want him to stay and I want to see him play for Manchester United for many years to come. But it doesn't look like that's going to happen. Mr. Miracle says, low move would suit Kobbie, but not our club. Unlikely they will do it. Marley says, Spurs were a better team than us with a poor manager last season. Morris Marshall says, we should be building around Kobbie, not trying to sell him. It's a controversial decision this by the club. Not just by Ruben Amorim, let's not forget as well. Because some people point out on social media, apparently Jason Wilcox is the sort of man overseeing everything here. He's the sort of the puppet master, if you will, pulling the strings of what's going on. So if he's saying, right, okay, the manager can't, we're going to sell Kobbie Mainoo, that's a big call from him as well. Is he on the hiding to nothing? The manager said, look, I ain't got a role for him. Like, you can keep him if you want, give him a new deal if you want, but he ain't going to play. I don't know. Let me know what you think. Harry says, just join. Can you recap, please, Jay? Yeah, I'm happy to do that. I'm not happy about it, but the story of this today, I'm not even looking at anything else, is about Kobbie Mainoo. Laurie Whitwell, who was on the channel yesterday, he's expanding on what he was speaking about on the channel yesterday. He's done an article this morning. I think it's Mark Critchley's done it with him. And he's basically saying that Kobbie Mainoo could be on his way out of Manchester United. He signed a new deal in February 2023, but he's not signed a new deal since then. That was sort of one of the basic deals that you get, I think, when you're a new player into the team. Say basic, 20k a week, but it's not mega money for a Manchester United player. However, now he wants more money. That's not happening. Plus, the manager doesn't seem to want to play him at all. So it says here, if you look at Mainoo in the league last season, it says once he returned, Mainoo only starts as part of rotated lineups in games before or after United's critical Europa League knockout ties with Lyon Athletic Club. Across those 4 legs, he played 59 minutes of a possible 390, mostly during the extra time period against Lyon, when he was introduced as an 86-minute sub, then scored a 120-minute equaliser. Despite that dramatic goal, and although United were trailing Tottenham through the second half, he was only a substitute again in the final itself, brought on in the 90th minute. So it's obvious Ruben Amorim doesn't really rate. I think Ronaldo Brown has said this on Twitter, and he said it on camera. Like, he's looked at it and you can go, look, he can see that the manager doesn't really rate Kobbie Mainoo. Now, I get there's an argument Kobbie Mainoo is still young, he's still developing, he's still progressing. It's not all about now. There is a long-term thing here, but Lenny Yoro's younger than Kobbie Mainoo and plays pretty much every week that he's available for Ruben Amorim. Kobbie Mainoo was playing at 18 and 19 and doing very, very well for Manchester United. It's not like he's too young to play for Manchester United. The sort of short along of it is this manager just doesn't think he fits his system, doesn't think he needs him. if he did, I think he'd have used him so far this season. I know it's only 2 games, but 2 games where you've not picked up a win and you've had a player on there who's not even got off the bench, it is quite telling that the manager would prefer to try and bring height on for set pieces with defenders, the likes of Harry Maguire and Aidan Heaven, rather than bringing on Kobby Mainu. Would rather bring on Manuel Ugarte rather than Kobby Mainu. And people say, well, Manuel Ugarte is more of a 6 than Kobby Mainu is. I understand your point. I get where you're coming from. But even when he pushed Mason Mount into a deeper role last game, he was asked about it and he could have used Kobby Mainu there, but he said, I used Mason Mount because I wanted to get a goal. Kobby Mainu, who's actually scored, 5 goals in 32 games last season, including some big goals under Ruben Amorim, that big goal against Lyon. So, it just doesn't seem to me like the manager rates him. I just don't get that impression. And I don't get this argument, well, he's just young. He's just... I could get that if he hadn't played a load of games for Manchester United already. If he hadn't been in the Manchester United first team for the last 2 years or in and around the first team, but he has. Ben Gregg says, calling for the manager's head right now is wild, clueless, take that. I don't know who's doing that. I'm certainly not calling for the manager's head. I think the criticism of the manager is growing. I'm not going to deny that, but it is early days. We're two games into the season. We win against, I expect us to beat Grimsby tonight. We win against Burnley, and we can go into the international break with a little bit more positivity. And then who knows? We have got some big games coming up, but if you can get any sort of result against the likes of Liverpool, Chelsea, and City, then that just calms everyone's nerves. However, got to say the flip side. If we do lose against Burnley, I'm not saying we will, but if we do, it's going to raise a few questions in it, to say the least. I'm going to leave it there. Ben Gregg says, not you, J-Lad. Fair enough, bro. I just saw your comment. Sorry, I didn't know you were talking to. Yeah, a bit gutted about this news with Kobby Mainoo, to be honest with you. You know my thoughts on him. I'm hoping that something can be resolved and the manager can maybe have a word with him and say, look, long term, you are going to have a future at Manchester United. It's just in the here and now. That's not happening. But doesn't look great, does it? Make sure if you're not doing so already, you are hitting like, share, and subscribe to the channel. We're going to be back later on today. Got the Grimsby game. I think it's going to be me, it's going to be Joe, and it's going to be Ronaldo Brown. So we'll have loads to say on this. So make sure you subscribe to the channel. We'll get into this debate and this discussion later on today. I'm quite looking forward to it, to be honest with you. And hopefully, Grimsby, League 2 opposition, we can get a few goals. Anyway, I'm J Motty. This has been a paper talk from a pretty mild, sunny Salford, even though my mood is proper depressed. Thanks for watching.